Bankruptcies, holy, what a hot topic. There is more and more of this coming around, and I see it more and more frequent, and I'm reading a lot more about it. So 2022 was a crazy year. We've seen the ultimate highs, and we're starting to see the ultimate lows. So here's a recap of what we saw in 2022, and we're also gonna be going over the companies that went bankrupt. So from the mid-sized carrier, large carrier, we're gonna go over and talk about what should we expect in 2023. So what did we see in 2022? We saw a crazy year. Hey guys, look what I built. I've been working in this industry for about 16 years now. I chose to devote some time to helping others through this channel since I've seen truckers being exploited by our own industry providers for far too long. Company drivers, owner-operators, lease operators, small fleet owners, or anybody thinking of coming into our industry, this channel is for you. Make sure you're a subscriber to this channel and hit that bell notification so you can keep up to date on the latest information on North American trucking. We saw the cost of equipment literally going up by 100%. So something like a trailer that we used to buy brand new for $45,000, today we're buying it for about $80,000. Trucks, we used to buy them for about $180,000, and now we're buying them for about $225,000. But those prices are slowly coming down, but the damages is irreversible. Insurance rates are through the roof right now, and interest rates are just at almost an all-time high. It's the highest I've seen them in probably say about 10-12 years. We also saw huge fluctuations with the cost of fuel, and the cost of fuel is still really high. I believe that the national average is about $4.40, $4.45 US per gallon. And let's not forget the decreased freight rates. So where rates used to be, I believe about 9 months ago, they used to be about $4 a mile, $4.50 a mile, $5 a mile. The rates were all over the place, and it was literally like an auction. So for every truck that you had, there was about 5 loads, and brokers calling you and harassing you to do their loads. Well, things are a little bit different right now. So for every 10 loads, there are about 20 trucks. So the drivers right now, or the truck drivers, the trucking companies, they're fighting over for loads. But what in the world happened in the US? And in the last 6 months or in the last 8 months, there are more and more bankruptcies. And I'm gonna be going over some of the trucking companies that went bankrupt. And I'm also gonna show you signs so you can be aware if your company is not so stable. We'll talk about the signs of what to look out for. But first of all, let's talk about these bankruptcies. So let's talk about Elite Transportation, 25 truck drivers that went bankrupt earlier this year. Ronen Trucking, 37 truck drivers. L.W. Miller Costs, 87 truck drivers. That company went under. And then we have a little bit of the larger carriers. So Marvin Keller Trucking, 115 drivers that lost their jobs. Joseph Keller, the president of Marvin Keller, said that the reason for the bankruptcy filing is because the company was unable to keep up with the high price of fuel, the wages, and other operating expenses. Also, there was a verdict on the 2019 crash between Martin Keller, truck driver, and a passenger. The passenger that was 44 years old, Christopher Short, died as a result of the collision. In December of 2021, a U.S. District Court jury entered a $10 million judgment in favor of the passenger driver's wife and 2 minor children. So that will put you out of business. Next company, Land Air, 135 drivers. A Vermont-based less than truckload carrier closed unexpectedly in July. So Land Air decided to close the trucking company because of the rising costs associated with the trucking industry. Private equity firms are increasingly concerned with the low return on investment in the transportation industry. So profit margins are getting smaller and smaller in the trucking industry. This is 100% correct. Now the next one, UFI Transportation, 213 truck drivers. One of the largest furniture manufacturing in the US terminated all of its 2,700 employees. This included its trucking firm, the Mississippi-based UFI Transportation. According to federal database, UFI Transportation employed 213 truck drivers. And now with our next one, Matheson Postal Services, 383 truck drivers. By far the largest was the California-based Matheson, which filed for Chapter 11 on May 5th. So guys, just to let you guys know that this is just the beginning. So I cannot imagine what's going to happen in Q1 and Q2 of 2023. It appears to be that more and more trucking companies are headed in the same direction because the freight rates are so low and the expenses are extremely high. Now, what is the common denominator between trucking companies that are going out of business? So for those of you out there working as a company driver, an owner operator, a lease operator, you need to be made aware of this, okay? These are signs. I'm gonna go through a few signs trucking companies are going to be headed in that same direction. Number one we'll talk about is the safety score and scales. So if your trucking company has a horrible safety rating and is constantly at the scales, you better believe it that that trucking company will not get reinsured come the renewal time. So what do I mean by that? So there is a big push on insurance companies are not profitable in the last few years. So what they're doing is they're not renewing insurance policies. So how are they going to determine between the good trucking companies and the bad trucking companies? It's obviously their safety score. So if the trucking company has a bad safety score and has a lot of violations, whether it's logbook violations, equipment violations, if their safety score is not good or not at where it needs to be, which is satisfactory, the insurance companies will not be renewing their insurance. Now, if a trucking company does not get reinsured, then they cannot legally drive on the roads, which means they will be laying off most of their drivers, if not all their drivers, because they cannot insure their trucks. Now, number two, pays bouncing and not getting paid on time. This is a big sign of a trucking company that's headed in the wrong direction. So if you're supposed to get paid on the 1st and the 15th, and the company does not deposit or give you checks on those proper dates, then there's something wrong with the company that you're working for. You need to keep your eyes open and you need to start looking for another position. Why? Because the trucking company is having financial difficulties and therefore they are not paying you on time every 1st and every 15th. Another reason why and how trucking companies are going to go out of business this year is the recruitment of new drivers to fill seats. Now, sometimes when a trucking company has 100 trucks and they have 10 open trucks, so meaning that there are vacancies in their trucking company. So what do? They will make an exception to hire newly licensed drivers. Or what they'll do is if they have a training program that is supposed to last 3 months, and after 1 month, because they have the vacancies, they will take that driver out of their training program and let them go solo. So these new drivers filling in seats is a recipe for disaster. Truck drivers need to be properly trained, and only then can you put them in the seat of a truck. So these are signs, some signs that you should look out for. There's many more, but these are the 3 top ones that come to my head. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel because I will keep you up to date on any other trucking companies that are going out of business. There is a common denominator with every single truck driver that I see here or any interview that I do. One of the questions that I ask all truck drivers is about their previous employer, and a lot of them will tell me that they didn't get paid by their previous employer. It's a common thing in our industry and it's got to stop eventually. But we collectively can stop that from happening by creating awareness out there to our fellow truck drivers. So if you have worked for a company that withheld your pay, put the comments down below so I can make a video on it. And if you want to reach me directly, email me at sponsorships@ettransport.ca and I'll be happy to answer any one of your questions and to make a new video to create awareness on which trucking companies to stay the hell away from. I'm Ronen, R-O-N-E-N, and I'll catch you in my next.